everybody, and welcome to another speaker presentation with the wonderful Erica Briggs. So, welcome, Erica. I'm just going to introduce you here, and then we'll get started on your topic today. So, Erica Briggs, she is a registered master's level social worker and clinical counselor with a strong belief in holistic health and fitness as a path to optimum wellness. Erica's background working in both public service and community agencies has provided her with a broad range of skills, including facilitation and psychoeducation and self-awareness, emotions management, and healthy relationships. And Erica, of course, we've known each other, I think, for around a decade now, and have also been building our businesses together. And so I really appreciate you being here today again with us to share your wisdom and perspectives on really how visionary leaders and their organizations can thrive. And I know you want to talk to us about your topic today about you are exactly where you need to be. So that sounds like a really juicy headline. So I can't wait to talk to you about it today.
Great. Well, thanks, Sarah. Thank you so much for the invitation to be here today. I'm always so inspired by the work that you do, and I feel really fortunate to have grown alongside you as friends and professionals in the field of growth and human potential and all that good stuff. So so I'm really feel really fortunate to speak with you today and share something that's really been on the forefront of my mind and in my work for the last year. And the topic, you are exactly where you need to be, really speaks to all the changes that we have undertaken in the past year and 2 years, really, in the world, professionally, personally, and throughout all the systems and relationships that we are navigating and that we rely on. There's been a lot of challenge and a lot of change. And the interesting thing about us as humans is that we all resist change to a certain degree, but we're actually really good at it.
At change or resisting change?
Well, we're actually really good at changing. If you look historically at the way that we've evolved, human beings as a species are one of the best. We're kind of pros at it, but we resist it. It's difficult. It brings up challenges. It brings up roadblocks and barriers to our progress. And so, considering all of that and some of the views that we might have of what we're struggling with or what's holding us back from where we want to be, I think it's useful to consider that historically change has just been a constant.
I agree with you, and I've honestly, now that you pointed out, I have felt it surprising when people have said things didn't used to change so much and now they're changing more. I don't know if that's true. Maybe it is. I know people used to have a career for an entire lifetime, one job or one organization, and now that's not the case. And so I guess that change is definitely more so, but I agree with you. That's just part of being human and growing and living. So when we look at it that way, that changes, I think, how we look at change. I guess is what you're getting at.
Yeah, and there's been a real paradigm shift, economically and in terms of our work, the way that we work, the way that we communicate. There's been a major shift in that area. Since the pandemic, we're doing everything virtually, or we can do almost everything virtually. And so that's been a real change and a real shift. And so I think with all the changes that have been happening, one thing that's really significant is that we haven't had that real time, that connection piece, that in time personal connection, that has changed since we're in a virtual platform. And so the feedback that we get from other people in terms of where we're at is different. So we've been spending a lot more time in our homes, in our heads, in our bubbles. And so that has changed the way that we are viewing our self-concepts to a large degree.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah.
That sounds like a really crucial piece that, like you said, everyone is going through regardless of what their, their circumstances are lately.
Yeah. So with this shift, we and our like the inclination to just spend more time within our bubbles and within our minds. What I've noticed in my role as a counselor over the past, year in particular,
Mhm.
is that it's brought up a lot of historical issues, that people have been maybe dealing with for their entire lives, and for some reason now it's coming to the forefront, or it's being
Mm.
presented in a more intense way. And so there's a lot of frustration around, like, well, why can't I move ahead? Why can't I get past this? um, you know from a large scale to really significant historical trauma, to a small scale like breaking habits that are just not serving you, like the I don't know how many people have developed like an incredible snacking habit during COVID-19, that it's the comfort, right? So it's
Mm.
there's a wide range of behavioral changes that people are wanting to address and maybe judging themselves for not being able to address. um, and so my message here today is basically that you are exactly where you need to be right now, and we've lost um, the ability to make a really concrete comparison without that in-person connection that we used to have. So
Mm.
and
Mhm.
that used to really help us sort of put things into context and connect with others on a sort of like a metaphysical level, on an energetic level, that's very different from virtual. There are, I mean,
Mm.
I do believe there is connections that happen through virtually, but just the entire paradigm shift has made us be more inward focused and not as likely to put things into context, because we get kind of stuck in our own thoughts and our own
Yeah,
thinking
good
patterns,
point.
like our own neural pathways.
So I wonder if we can maybe just reiterate that, because I think that's a key thing to be aware of. Because, like you said, we're almost, um, I guess what I'm hearing you say is, because we are not isolated, but we're very focused kind of on our own energies, that it's almost concentrated and we aren't necessarily balancing ourselves out by exposing, connecting with others more frequently. Is that kind of what you're saying? Or
Yeah, we're not getting the perspective, like the energetic
mm,
perspective that we used to get, um, and so it's a very subtle, nuanced shift that's happened over the last year to 2 years. But I really see it coming up in my work when people bring this issue to me, like, why can't I get past this? And part of that is because we don't have the dilution or the perspective shift, that we used to have, that we used to take advantage
right.
of.
So even just
Um,
a physical change of environment, let alone
yes.
seeing other people more and all of
Yeah. Yeah.
that. Okay.
Yeah. Even just the example of, before the pandemic, even those of us who worked on the computer, we heard that it was healthy to get up and, look at a distance, or, get up and walk around. That was sort of like a general healthy guideline to give
Mhm.
ourselves a break. Um, and so now that we're basically, our worlds have turned virtually so much more significantly, that still applies, but consider the fact that we're not doing all the other things, like our 9 to 5 jobs, or 8 to 4, 8 hours a day on the computer, have now for some people become, their jobs are on the computer, their social life is on the computer, their
Right.
shopping is on the computer, you know
Mhm.
so we're not getting that um shift and change in scenery and change in energetic space that we used to get more naturally.
Right. And like you said, that gives perspective. I know whenever I travel, airplanes, for example, I found the most powerful, because you change in, height, altitude, and you're going somewhere new. I always found that was really kind of gave me that distance and that perspective for sure. So
Mhm,
I can
mhm.
understand if we're sort of in that sort of same environment again and again and again without even going outside as much. I know I haven't been. That's with the weather lately this time of year, and I've been missing it for sure. So people are feeling stuck a little bit more in their stuff and having a harder time with change. Do you have any tips around that? Or, I know the whole concept, you're exactly where you need to be. I'd love to hear about that. So tell me
Yeah.
more about the kind of, now that we've established this sort of lack of perspective, now what, I guess? How do people move
Well,
forward from there?
Yeah. So I think accepting that we're all on an evolutionary pathway in some capacity, regardless of what your beliefs are about that. We're all on a life path, and so this concept of that I should be somewhere else, um, is is part of what creates that dissatisfaction. So
And that feeling
there,
of stuckness too, right? I guess then you feel like you can't change.
yeah.
But yeah, okay, tell me more. Mhm.
So there's a wonderful leader by the name of Byron Katie, and she writes a book called Loving What Is, and she has a process that she guides people through, and it's called The Work. And her philosophy basically is, anytime you argue with reality, you create suffering.
Mm, very true. Yes.
So the belief that you should be somewhere where you're at and that you're not automatically creates some discord. And
Mhm.
so her
Okay.
her process, which I, I'm not promoting or anything, but I just have found it useful for myself and for my clients. I was really just to question that belief, is that, if you feel like you should be somewhere that you're not, like, is that true?
Mm, mhm.
And so, there's a funny meme that I saw recently that I thought really spoke to this, and it said, um, nothing is normal, no one is okay, and you're doing great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
That
think that
that's
that
lovely.
well, I think there's a lot, with that focused perspective within our bubbles, and not getting the different feedback from different sources, and I think what happens is, especially with the influence of social media and the media itself, there's this, maybe view that there's some people that are just totally thriving in this pandemic, and I don't argue that that's not the case. I think there are some people that are thriving, and that's wonderful, and I think that 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 should be promoted, and that's part of why I'm here, is I want to continue that, and I can say that
Mhm.
myself in some ways have thrived, but I think there's maybe a perception that no one is struggling as much as maybe there are,
Mm,
and so I think
okay.
that there's great growth, and there's also there's great struggle that's going on, and so I think sometimes naturally we can we can see ourselves as maybe not doing as well as we should be, or not where we're supposed to be, or maybe not doing the right things, or and so that's why I say it's the message that nothing is normal, no one is okay, and you're doing great, is wherever you are at right now, whatever you're tackling, whatever you are facing, whatever you're questioning about your life and your life path, and the work that you're doing, and or what you're going through, it's, if you can view it as, um, something that you're learning,
Mhm.
and it's an
Mm.
opportunity to sit and find some acceptance with who you are, where you are right now, and
Yeah, that's
simply,
beautiful. Yeah, even
and
just
just,
hearing that just feels good. Just my body just kind of
yeah,
relaxes even just listening to that. Because it is
yeah.
easy. I know for myself, as this achieving type of personality to some degree, it's still there.
Mhm.
And so it's easy to kind of look on those things where we can grow, or where not doing as well as we think we should be, like you're saying. But that
Mhm.
that acceptance of where you are and the exactly where you need to be piece is huge. And I agree with you, even if that means looking at some things and being kind of having some stuff come up, whatever that is. Maybe it is around the self acceptance, or all of that. I think that this is a beautiful time of uh, pressure in some ways, because we're getting different pressures from the changes, and kind of beyond our control, sort of environmentally. But I believe very much in that whole concept of the pressure creates the diamond. And so by accepting where you're at, I think that allows that process that you're saying to kind of go a little more gracefully.
Mhm.
And instead of
Oh
feeling
yeah,
frustrated about it along the
yes.
way, you know?
And I love that metaphor of the pressure makes the diamond, because I think in order for the pressure to make the diamond, there has to be a pause where the pressure can
Mm,
actually meet what it needs to meet to create that gem.
mm, good
So I
point.
think in that frustration or maybe chasing energy of like trying to be somewhere where you're not, you can just pause and take a breath and recognize that this is exactly where you're meant to be at this moment, and it's okay.
Mm.
You're not going to be here forever. Change is the only constant. That's one thing that we
So,
know for sure.
so my immediate reaction to that is, yeah, well, how long do I have to pause for? And what is it that we got to accept? So I guess, how do you get comfortable with that pace, space of maybe being
Yeah.
okay with what something maybe doesn't feel comfortable, or that kind of space there?
Well, that's a great question, and I think it really comes down to getting comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah. Hmm. And trusting that things will shift when they're supposed to, that kind of thing.
Yes, I'm a great believer in that um, we have great agency and choice in our lives, um, and we have to do our own work. But there's many things that are not within our control, and so I think really kind of getting clear on what's in our control and what's not in our control, and allowing for that process to happen.
Mm, yeah, it's lovely. And it feels like that's where somebody could benefit from some additional support, maybe, you know, being supported in that discomfort state, and, you know, that kind of thing. And that, I think it might be a nice place to kind of bring it back to getting support. Like, I know you work as a clinical counselor, so that type of support is very different than like a coach or a family member. So I'm wondering if you maybe just talk about that for a minute before we wrap up the conversation
Sure.
today. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and I just was just reminded of last year when we did this. I was talking about the work of inquiry, and
Mhm.
and why it's so important, and I think that that speaks to this topic as well. So I think a lot of us are maybe asking questions and wondering, if we're feeling like we're in this place, what to do next. And I really do advocate for taking your questions outside of your own head,
Mhm.
and speaking to somebody that can maybe help you navigate that. And so for some folks, it is a coach. For some folks, it is a counselor. For some folks, it's a health professional. I think looking outside of ourselves and getting some education to get some perspective, some informed perspective,
Mhm.
is really, really empowering. And so, it kind of supports that space of allowing yourself to be exactly where you need to be, and also encouraging you to support yourself to move forward in the way that is going to best serve you.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. So you're, what I'm taking away there is that empowerment, that people can do this, but that it's not a bad thing to get support in times when, you know, it might be beneficial, especially when we are so much disconnected to those support systems we used to have. So
Hmm.
really appreciate you bringing that there, because it's something that I felt like a kind of a mental health wellness advocate for years in my leadership role and personal life. And so I think now more than ever, well, I think people are becoming more and more aware of when they can use support and reaching out for it. So
Hmm.
yeah, definitely agree with you there, and how it's beneficial.
Yeah, and I think that a good message is that we really don't have to do this alone.
Mm,
I think sometimes part of our culture, and particularly for women that are high achievers and high functioning, and we have this belief that we've got to do it all. We've got to do it all.
mm,
We've got to manage it all, and um, there's an incredible amount of pressure that comes with that. There's great reward, but there's also great cost. And so I think just that reminder of that we're all where we're supposed to be, and we have each other, and it takes courage to reach out sometimes because there is a bit of vulnerability there, but it's the rewards are so great.
Mhm. Absolutely. Well, I think that's a great spot to wrap up today. And really, I'm just taking away just that beautiful acceptance of wherever we're at, and trusting that things will come as they're supposed to come, and not trying to getting out of that sort of stuck feeling
Mm,
and into that acceptance, which just feels like peace, and then joy can happen, even in times of discomfort. So thank
yeah.
you so much for sharing this message. It's definitely one that the world can benefit from hearing today, and so I'm sure that everybody listening will really take away some wonderful inspiration. So thank you so much, Erica, for being here. So as we're wrapping up, how can people find out more about either working with you, or get to check out your website? If you could share the link to that, that would be great.
Sure. Yeah. My website is Erica Briggs, mswrsw.com. And I'm happy to connect with anyone that would like to reach out. My email is on there as well. I'm not super tech savvy. That's where I'm at right now, and I'm okay with it.
That's great. Yeah.
Maybe a growth edge somewhere in the future there. But I think I so appreciate being here and being able to speak about this topic and share in this this collective forward movement that you've created. So thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. It's been amazing to have you here for our second summit this year, and I'm sure everybody's going to really love this topic. So I'll definitely link your website below so people can reach out to you that way if they'd like. And thank you again, Erica, as always. So it's been wonderful having this conversation with you and sharing with others. So thanks for being here.
Thank you.